was something that felt so right in the stillness of the forest or the peaceful starry night. Living meadows and ancient trees carry secrets that are also found within the stormy seas. I have watched the thundering skies as the lightning crashes through the clouds and chills me with delight. Windswept prairies of wheat growing tall, or the desert sands of shimmering heat, and I am part of all. Gentle goddess who also destroys, creatress, destructress, turns sorrows into joys. You have called me home again. I'm remembering what once I knew but had forgotten. Honor me with your presence tonight in the sacred space that we create by flickering candlelight. I hear you calling me to come and delight in the sacred space of perfect trust and love by candlelight. In the sacred space of perfect trust and love by candlelight.
Welcome to the second episode of Reaching for the Moon, presented by Everglades Moon Local Council, the Florida chapter of Covenant of the Goddess. You might ask, what is Covenant of the Goddess? The Covenant supports individual works by its covens, members, and local councils. Known as COG for short, it's not some monolithic entity. It's a vibrant network of a myriad of Wiccan and witchy resources, religious support, friendships, service opportunities, and more. What is COG? I'm Serona, Public Information Officer for Everglades Moon Local Council, and I'm COG. We've got some great stuff coming up for you. Lord Riken shares with us what the heck to do with elderberries in a new segment called It'll Grow on You. Later, he'll share the wonderful secrets of his master tonic. Alpandia and Lady Bridget share with us interesting things to do with eggs, perfect for Ostara, and close with a special dedication. You can find out about the stuff we're doing and where we'll be on our website, emlc.net, on our Facebook page, facebook.com/EvergladesMoon, and now you can follow us on Twitter, @EMLCTweets. Enjoy, and blessed be.
Good afternoon, this is Lord Riken. Most of you know me. If you don't, I spend most of my time with my nose in the dirt and chewing on plants in the wild and such to figure out what tastes good and what doesn't. And I was going to talk about Master Tonic all day today, but yesterday I was out in the wilds and saw the elderberries were in bloom. So let's start with elderberry. Go online, get yourself some pictures of it, drive down the roadsides anywhere from South Florida to Canada, and you will find elderberry growing and blooming. We used to call it Sambucus canadensis. I notice now they're calling it Sambucus nigra. But still, it's elderberry the way you want to look at it. Big, showy white blossoms on beautiful jade green leaves on the sides of the road and in waste places throughout the country. What you want to do is to go out, clip those seed heads just below the umbel. It's an umbelliferous plant. So in other words, it looks kind of umbrella shaped in the flower. Clip them, throw them in a big paper bag, let them sit for a few days, then grab the paper bag, shake vigorously, and then reach in and pull out all the stems. They'll all be tied together. All the little flower heads will fall off when you shake it, and then you dump out all those flower heads in a bowl, pick out any little bits of stem that are left, make sure everything's good and dry, and store it in a jar, because if you start coming down with a cold or the flu, you want to take a tablespoon of that in a cup of boiled water several times a day. It is excellent. It's an antibacterial, it's an antiviral, it's an antioxidant, it's an immune system stimulant. At the very least, if you take elderberry tea, elderberry flower tea, if you get up to it soon enough, you might even be able to shortcut the flu or the cold entirely, but if you don't, your symptoms will be much milder and you'll recover much quicker. You don't hear a whole lot about that because, like I said, anywhere from South Florida to Canada, you can find elderberry on the side of the road. There's not a whole lot of chance for anybody to make a lot of money off of it. Easy to harvest, easy to process, easy to use. A little bit of honey goes a long way. The flower tea tastes great on its own, but a little bit of honey helps too. So that's my little timely tip for elderberry, because as we sit here talking in the middle of March, it's in full bloom here in South Florida, and if you're listening somewhere north of here, as spring progresses up through the country, the elderberry will be in bloom.
Blessed be 3 times 3, as I do will, so mote it be with the earth, air, fire, water, spirits in a circle, as I do will, so mote it be. Witches live by this creed, guarding thought and word and deed, and it harm no one, do anything you will, this is called the Wiccan Rede. Samhain starts our new year.
This is Serona, and I'm sitting with Lady Bridget of Witch and Famous Coven, and today's pagan parenting segment is going to be about decorating eggs, but we're going to do it the magical way.
Okay, so when my kids were growing up, we used to decorate the eggs like everybody else does with the little food coloring dyes and the vinegar, and you know the recipe's on the back of the box. You just buy the little dyes of food color and the vinegar. And but we used to do it a little bit differently. We would take the crayons first, and then the kids would decorate the egg with some kind of rune, but a child's rune, not Nordic runes, but like a heart for love, or a $sign for money, a smiley face, you know, for happiness, things like that. But then when they went to decorate the egg itself and color it, they would make sure that the egg with the heart went into the pink or into the red, and the egg with the $sign went into the green one, because green is for money, or other signs, whatever they decided they wanted, they would put it into the correct color. So they were not just learning about the runes or what different symbols meant, but they were also associating the symbol with the color that went with it. So they were learning that green is for money or for health, and that pink or red is for love, and that yellow can be for happiness, and blue can be for peace. And you know, whatever you associate the colors with, that's how you pass that on to your kids. And so that way they're learning without even realizing they're learning. And so they just use the same color crayon. Wherever the crayon is on the egg, the food coloring doesn't dye there. And then the second part of it is that they understand that when they're eating the egg, maybe you hide them and go out and find them, but whenever they eat the egg, they also understand that now this egg isn't just an egg, it now has magical properties, because now it has the magical properties of happiness or health or peace or prosperity and money, whatever they wanted to put in the egg. And I found that my kids like to give each other the eggs. Oh, here, you look down, you need a little happiness. Here's a little pink egg for you. And that kind of thing was very, very sweet.
I've decorated eggs with my kids in this way with the wax crayons and the dye, and I would recommend letting the eggs reach room temperature first, especially in Florida because the humidity is so high. You get a lot of condensation, and the marker and the crayon may not transfer. So just let the eggs reach room temperature first, and you'll prevent that problem.
That's true, and that's why I dye the eggs a couple of days ahead of time before we're going to use them in circle. So that's why we can't dye the eggs after we mark them and then still eat them the same night, because it just doesn't, there's not enough time in the day for that. But eggs will keep, once they've been hard boiled, only for a couple of days. So I would do it the day before, but not too much longer than that, because once you take them out and you let them get to room temperature, it takes a few hours. So we've carried this tradition into the coven as well, only we do it a little bit differently because we're adults. We use Sharpie markers instead of crayons. And I color the eggs first so the eggs have a chance to dry. And then when we're in circle, in sacred space, everybody gets a Sharpie and they choose which color egg they want. I color them with the 4 elemental colors, yellow, red, green, and blue. And I'll do about a dozen or maybe 2 dozen eggs, depends how many people are going to be in circle. And everybody gets a Sharpie, and then they put their initial or their sigil on the egg on the bottom, underneath. And then, since we're not just going to take, we're also going to give, we believe that everybody has strengths that they bring to the group, and everybody has gifts that they give to each other. And so we'll put a mark or a sign or sigil on the egg with the Sharpie that represents what our strength is. So, for example, if someone is good in music, then they might put a musical note on the egg, that kind of thing. And then they're going to charge the egg before they pass it on to the next person with their intention, whatever their gift is. And then when everybody's done, we pass the egg to the left, and then you put your sigil on the next person's egg. And eventually everybody goes, all the eggs go all the way around the circle until you get your own egg back. And then we take the moment to explain what each person has put into the egg, what they've charged it with, what their strength is, what they're giving, what their gift is. And then we eat them. And so we eat them with intention that we realize that we are eating and ingesting and imbuing ourselves with the strengths of all of our coven, and that we're sharing that with everybody. So that's our Ostara tradition, as well as the pagan parenting tradition.
Okay, well, thank you very much for meeting with me.
Thank you.
Equinox in the spring, Mother Earth awakening as we plant what we want to mature throughout the year. So good fortune and good cheer. Beltane seas, maples rise, just a penis in disguise. Colored ribbons represent our wishes and our dreams, celebrate fertility. Litha comes at June's end, solar apex now descends. Sun King's course is at its yearly height, longest day and shortest night. Promises for corn and grain, Mother Goddess ripe again. Her consort shed his blood for summer's bloom. Now we honor our Lord Moon. The wheel it turns another notch, which brings us to fall equinox. Thanks for the blessings, grapes are on the vine. Maven is the harvest time. Create sacred space with our minds in altered states. With the earth, air, fire, water, spirits in a circle, we create a magic place. If you wish to help the earth, celebrating life's rebirth, honor the Sabbaths the whole year through. Mother Earth will smile on you.
Hi, my name is Alpandia, and I am one of the solitary members of EMLC. I would like to share an Ostara project with you that you can do with your coven, kids, friends, or even by yourself. With this project, we'll be making Ostara eggs that will last forever. This project is fun and easy, and just a little bit messy. To make the eggs, you will need white glue, water, scissors, small balloons, a small bowl or dish to hold the glue. In my case, I used a red plastic disposable cup that had been cut down. Thin yarn. I found a size 3 yarn works well, such as Patton's Grace. Thicker yarn may need extra glue and drying time. You'll need newspaper to cover your work surface, an optional trinket or bead to wrap inside the egg, And of course you'll need a drying surface, such as a cookie sheet covered in wax paper, a cooling rack, or something else you might have around the house. First, cover your crafting surface with newspaper. Next, mix together equal parts glue and water. Blow up your balloons until they're about egg-shaped and sized. If you have items you'd like to be inside your eggs, place them in your balloons before you blow the balloon up. Once you've knotted your balloons, it's time to get wrapping. Draw the yarn slowly through the watery glue mixture and start wrapping it around your balloons. You can gently squeeze any excess glue off the yarn before applying it to the balloon. Be sure to turn your balloon to achieve a nice crisscross pattern of the yarn. Most of all, have fun. If you have an item inside the balloon, keep in mind how big it is to make sure you have a tight enough grid to keep it from falling out once the balloon is popped. After you're done wrapping, snip off the yarn and press the yarn end against the balloon. You may want to take a moment to dip your finger in the glue and lightly touch up any spots where the yarn might need a little extra support. Place your balloon on your prepared surface to allow it to dry. If you're using a surface like a cookie sheet covered in wax paper, be sure to turn your balloon occasionally as it dries. I have found that, on a flat surface, the eggs can develop a soft spot where they were touching the surface, and it will not completely dry in that place. This will not be so much of a problem if you're using a grated cooling rack, though be sure to place newspaper under the rack to catch any glue drips. Another alternative would be to tie the balloon to a string and then hang that to dry from something like a shower rod. Allow your eggs to dry overnight. They should be ready for popping in the morning. Check your eggs for any soft spots, and if you find any, just turn them upwards and give them a little more time to air dry. If you find that they are completely dry and firm, take a thin, sharp object and pop the balloon. If you used a lot of glue, like I tended to, the balloon may not pull away immediately from the yarn. Give it time and it will unstick itself, though you may need to prod it a bit with a pair of tweezers. Pull the balloon knot away from the yarn, and if you have any extra bits of balloon inside your egg, you can pull them out with tweezers. Now hold up your egg and admire your work. Your egg will last forever, will never spoil, and will leave folks wondering just how you got that bunny bead inside it. Well, that's my Ostara craft. I hope you have fun making your eggs. For more information about this project, or to see a step-by-step pictorial on how to make your eggs, just head over to our website, www.emlc.net.
The goddess calls, although she would have come to her altar here and now. The goddess calls, although she would have come to her altar here and now. The goddess calls, although she would have come to her altar here and now. The goddess calls, the goddess calls, although she would have come to her altar here and now. The goddess calls, although she would have come to her altar here and now. The goddess calls, although she would have come to her altar here and now.
Hi-ho, Lord Riken here again. Going to share with you one of my favorite things. I've been making and using this recipe for more than 30 years now. Master Tonic. I was reading on the internet some today, and there are people that are erroneously attributing it to Christopher. It wasn't Christopher, it was Dr. Schultz back in 1932 that came up with the tonic recipe. Master Tonic is 1 cup, or at least equal parts, 1 cup fresh chopped cayenne pepper, 1 cup fresh chopped horseradish, 1 cup fresh chopped ginger, 1 cup fresh chopped strong yellow onion, and 1 cup fresh chopped garlic. Take all those ingredients, cover them with I use 2 quarts at least of Bragg's natural apple cider vinegar. Shake twice a day for 2 weeks and draw it off. That's your basic master tonic formula, which has been around forever. Let's go into it. Let's start with garlic. Garlic is a broad spectrum antibiotic. It kills both gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria, and it's an antiviral and antifungal. Good all on its own. Chop a little bit of that in with some honey, and you can make a throat syrup. Use the oil in your ear if you have an ear rake. But garlic is one of the prime ingredients here. If you want to go a little more than 1 cup of garlic in it, there's good reasons why you might want to, and I'll share them with you a little later. Onions. Onions is a diuretic, an antibiotic, and an anti-inflammatory, and is a very effective expectorant. Horseradish. Horseradish is a marvelous decongestant. One way that people who are badly stuffed up will do is just chop 1/4 teaspoon of horseradish, put it in your mouth, and hold it there until all the flavor's gone. By then, your sinuses will have kicked free and you'd be draining down your throat. But as part of the Master Tonic, it's extremely effective because one of the most effective ways to use horseradish is to dissolve its effects in vinegar first. Horseradish is an extreme immune system stimulant. It has a cleansing effect on the blood system. It helps to get rid of excess fluids in the body. It has a 1,000-year-long history of being used for gout and rheumatism. Ginger, tremendous antimicrobial characteristics, stimulates the immune system tremendously, gets the blood flowing, helps with chills and fever. It's a tremendous expectorant, and it's a gastric stimulant. In other words, you got an upset tummy, ginger tea is the thing to take for that, or as my wife does, flat ginger ale. But ginger, good for the stomach, which when you've been taking Master Tonic, a little help in the stomach is not a bad thing. Hot peppers. Now, you can go crazy here. I suggest staying in the bird pepper family. Staying with your Tabasco peppers and your jalapeno peppers and such as that. If you want to get stronger, you can. Do use a little bit of common sense. It's nothing more terrifying than to see a lot of capsicum oil floating around on top of the Master Tonic. More is not necessarily better. Normally the fresh, moderate cooking peppers are quite sufficient for this purpose. And of course the organic apple cider vinegar. I wouldn't trust any variety other than Bragg's myself. Wish I had stock in the company. Vinegar in and of itself is a tremendous antiseptic and antifungal and detoxifying agent. That's your basic recipe, and those are your ingredients. Now, some years ago I decided as a chuckle to take a class at a rendezvous for the people who were going to teach you how to use those 5 ingredients as the basic colonial medicine kit, but they also added blackstrap molasses to that mix. After doing some research, I decided that yes, indeed, I would do the same. After you've made your Master Tonic with your 5 ingredients and it's set for the 2 weeks and you've drawn it off, you can add at least 1 cup of blackstrap molasses. Blackstrap molasses gives you all kinds of vital micronutrients. It does not cause an insulin problem because it actually has a very low glycemic index. It sweetens things a little bit, but it's funny. It's the waste product of making refined sugar, and it's what's full of iron, magnesium, manganese, potassium, all kinds of micronutrients. Has a long history of being taken as a mineral tonic. People in the United States since the beginning of the sugar industry have taken blackstrap molasses and stirred a tablespoon into 4 ounces of water and drank that as a spring tonic just to get all kinds of vital nutrients back in the system. So I decided to try it. I tried a little bit of it that way and decided it was a winner, primarily because when you first make the Master Tonic, when that stuff first comes off, boy, it's raw. It will peel the paint right off the barn. If you go ahead and put some of the molasses in there, it's acts just as well as if you'd been aging it for 6 months. And it makes it much more acceptable for my next suggestion, which is that you use this stuff as a salad dressing. It's really delicious. I use it every day that way. A little bit of your favorite oil with it, whether it be olive oil or whether it be grapeseed oil or whatever oil you favor in your vinegar and oil. You won't regret it. It's delicious that way. Now, recently there's been an awful lot of talk on the web. Suddenly, Master Tonic is the greatest thing in the world. People suddenly discovered it. I've been passing out the recipe and the fluid for 30 years, like I said, so well, la-di-da. But now people are throwing other stuff into it. And that's not a bad idea. For myself, I would throw some finely chopped fresh oregano into it, because oregano is an incredibly fine antibiotic, particularly for problems with the mouth and with the ear. So certainly the oregano is a very good thing to add to it. And for a long time, I've been taking 6 to 10 black peppercorns, lightly crushing them and putting them in with the Master Tonic when I'm making it, because black pepper basically just increases the efficacy of anything it's put with. And it's also an excellent preservative. Not that anyone's ever had Master Tonic go bad on them after a year or two, because, trust me, ain't nothing going to live in there that shouldn't. Now, that's the end of the first part of it. You will find that Master Tonic, used straight, can be used for colds, flu, arthritis, oh goodness, just anything and everything. If you're feeling out of balance, out of sorts, or unfocused or whatever, just try some Master Tonic. It'll probably help whatever your problem might be. Never found anything really contraindicated in it. But now we're going to start having some fun. A lot of people today are throwing all these, they're roughly chopping all this stuff and they're throwing it through the food processor, chopping it up almost too fine to know what's what in it. I do not recommend that. Yes, you're going to make a stronger product, but it's going to take a lot longer to settle and clear, and more to the point, you'd have a lot more trouble using it for all the fun things I'm about to tell you about. Go to the little extra effort when you're making it. Chop it all up really fine, but chop it fine. Don't put it through a food processor. What you can do with a knife, as fine as you can make it with a knife, is as fine as you need it to be. Because once you have drawn it off of the vinegar and squeezed it all dry, my suggestion to you is you then get the cheapest vodka you can find, cover it all with vodka, let it sit for a few more days, shaking it up, pour that fluid into your Master Tonic and leave it open so that the alcohol evaporates off, because you can get a lot more extractives using the alcohol that did not come away with the water and the vinegar. You think at that point, boy, this stuff must be worn out. No. Pop a little bit in your mouth and chew it, you'll find there's still plenty of oomph left in it. At that point, once you've put it with the alcohol, or if you've chosen not to use the alcohol, just do it straight now. Cover it with honey. Stir it all up, leave it for a few days. After a few days, you'll notice that you no longer have a thick, viscous honey. You now have a very loose syrup. Go ahead and put that syrup in a jar, put a label on it, and if you're coming down with a sore throat or anything, take some of that. It's wonderful. I once had a fellow camper who was packing up to leave because she had been through 2 full courses of antibiotics to try to take care of a bad sore throat. They thought she was cured. Turned out she wasn't cured. So rather than have her end up in the hospital again like she did the second set of antibiotics, they were going to pack up and leave. I convinced them to take a little bit of Master Tonic mixed with honey. Within 2 hours, her symptoms were all gone. She stayed the whole 10 days at the rendezvous with us, and that couple has been making Master Tonic ever since, and they've been spreading it all over Canada. And they always have their batch with them. So I always like to make a syrup after that. And then once you've squeezed all that out, of course, you're going to have a little bit of residual sweetness with the honey that's going to be in there. At this point, pour some of your favorite oil over it, olive oil or grapeseed or whatever it might be. Let it soak a few days. I always make my Master Tonic around the 1st of November because I've got all this completed and done in time to let this oil and the Master Tonic dreg sit for a couple of days before it's time to roast my turkey. because I like to use this as a rub on my turkey, and then I pack some of it into the cavity. And let me tell you, it makes for a tasty bird. If you decide you don't want to do that, then when you finish with the the honey step, you can dry it. I have a solar food dehydrator, which I use to dry it, and once it's dried, I throw it through a little herb grinder into a powder, and then I use that in cooking as well, because believe it or not, it's still got plenty of oomph in it. Waste, want, and want not. And this is definitely the case with the Master Tonic dregs. Throwing those dregs out is a crime against humanity and nature. Coyote's been making Master Tonic now for a few years, and he always brings me his dregs because he can't be bothered to do all this extra stuff. But I can be bothered, so I'll be contributions more than welcome. If you want to bring me your dregs, I'll make good use of them. So at any rate, that's your basics on Master Tonic. It's all over the web at this point. Like I say, some people are erroneously attributing it to Christopher. It's not. It's Schultz. It goes way back. I've been using it for 30 years. I have never seen anybody who took it have a contraindicated effect from it. It has cured such a wide range of things. Good Lord, put a little bit of it into a foot bath if your feet are chilled or if you think you're sick. I will say this, one thing I haven't seen anywhere on the internet so far with the current craze for Master Tonic, but the basics of the way that I use it is that you want to, if you're feeling a cold coming on, you want to take a shot of Master Tonic, and by shot I mean 2 ounces. If you have a hot tub like I do, then get in the hot tub, because what you want to do is bring your core temperature to 102.2, because that deactivates most viruses. You don't have a hot tub, well, get your bed all made up with plenty of blankets on it. Kick back that 2 ounces and curl up in the bed and sweat it out. I recently gave a friend some, and with instructions to do exactly that, because we were at a rendezvous and he was coming down with something. And the surprising thing was he came back the next day and reported not only did it seem to have completely kicked it, but he'd been suffering from a mild form of sleeplessness for about 2 weeks, and he'd gotten the first good night's sleep he'd gotten. He begged a second dose from me, not because he felt like he still had a problem, but because he slept so well that he wanted to sleep that well again. And he took another dose, and he went back and he got another really good night's sleep. So who knows? I have people who have claimed that it's excellent for weight loss. I make no claims as to that, but everything in there boosts the metabolism, and certainly apple cider has been used for weight loss for many years. Segueing into this as well, apple cider vinegar and honey, equal parts to make a syrup. A tablespoon of that syrup in 4 ounces of water for such things as arthritis and rheumatism. Substitute Master Tonic for apple cider vinegar in that instance, and you get the same effects plus a whole lot more cleansing. So you can see why this is a Master Tonic. It's good for any respiratory problems. It's good for cleansing, aches and pains. Cayenne pepper, for instance, has very strong pain-relieving properties. So Master Tonic taken can also be used for the pain of swollen joints as well as cleaning out the joints. It's just good for pain as well. I think that's enough for one episode. I don't want to talk so long that I have put everybody to sleep. So I'll sign off now. Here, this is Riken saying goodbye.
This episode is dedicated to Lady Nokomis Regina, spiritual elder and leader in the Florida Wiccan community. Her dedication to the craft is evidenced by the many covens she hived, and the priests and priestesses who carry on in her tradition. Though she's passed on to the Summerland, her legacy lives on in those of us who remember. Blessed be, Lady.
She comes at the first hint of morning, as sweet as the breath of the sea, till the cock of the sun cries his warning. obscure her bright splendor, no veil and no garment of shame. For she is Our Lady of Twilight, my comfort in life's darkest hour. I see in her heavens of midnight a shield of omnipotent power. Though mortals deny and deride me, till love must rise up and depart, in a dread secret place she will hide me, sealed up with the blood of my heart. She comes at the first scent of morning, her feet on the grass of the sea, till the cock of the sun cries his warning, she will lie in the garden with me.
There's always something going on at Everglades Moon Local Council. We've got our annual retreat coming up in April for our members, where we camp out, share some laughs, and enjoy the outdoors. Some of us are going to the Florida Pagan Gathering this Beltane. You'll find our first officer, Kasha, offering a workshop on money magic. We could all use a bit more of the green stuff. Also, a couple of our members are working on a new Pagan Pride Day in Miami. The first ever is planned for this November. Check back here for more on that as it grows. If you've written a poem, a book review, or some music you'd like to share, it's as easy as recording a quick blurb on your smartphone and sending it to us. Find us on the web at emlc.net. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/EvergladesMoon, and now on Twitter at EMLC Tweets. Thanks, and blessed be.
The time of gathering's over. The gathering moon, it does wane. 11 moons till the wind calls us together again. And you lying fair in the moonlight, the last of her gleam in your eye. 11 more moons till the time you can make me your bride. But tonight we'll all share a song by the fire, a song of love, a song of desire, a song of the dry leaves that lie by the road we have trod. And I'll sit by your side and you'll sit by mine. The fiddles will play and the dulcimers chime, and we'll meet again on the road that we ride with the wind. Come lie by my side in the moonlight, tell me a story you know of the dark forest roads as the north winds grow white with the snow. And I'll drop a coin in your chalice for luck and the keen fairy eye, to keep in your pocket along the white hills as you ride. But tonight we'll all share a song by the fire, a song of love, a song of desire, a song of the dry leaves that lie by the road we have trod. And I'll sit by your side and you'll sit by mine. The fiddles will play and the dulcimers chime, and we'll meet again on the road that we ride with the wind. Oh, hard is the road through the mountains that the first gentle snowflakes do find, where the tracks of the wolves are the mark of the miles we do ride. And hard is the north wind and bitter that that makes the horse stumble and bite. And hard is the cold as I lie without you in the night. But tonight we'll all share a song by the fire, a song of love, a song of desire, a song of the dry leaves that lie by the road we have trod. And I'll sit by your side and you'll sit by mine. The fiddles will play and the dulcimers chime, and we'll meet again on the road that we ride with the wind. And we'll meet again on the road that we ride with the wind.